Shalom, people. This is Brother Lyles coming at you with another video. And I want to talk today about the war between the black man and the black woman. One half of the war is the black females. I think they call them divesters, where they talk against black women marrying black men. They state that black men aren't any good and you need to explore other races. Don't waste your time on the black man because they're not faithful. uh, they aren't father material. They're all uh, just a waste of time. And on the other half, you have what they call the manosphere. I guess the manosphere probably was a reaction to the black divesters, where they state, black women aren't any good. All they do is have babies, wear weave, or overweight. They're not have high value women that they want to put their time, energy, and money in, and therefore you need to go overseas, which brings up another segment of the manosphere, which has arose, which is called the passport brothers, which is just don't try to look for other women outside of black women here in the United States. Just leave the United States, period, and go to other places where it's nothing but other women or other races that you need to put your concentration on, and leave it all behind or whatever. I want to say that if you are a believer, whether black female or black male, you shouldn't be part of either one of these groups, because that's not of Yah. Neither one of these groups is part of Yah, although they might be even bringing statistical facts to show different things that are there. These are situations that have always been, that we have always faced as black people, as Hebrew people, wherever we went. When we were in Egypt, think about this. Or even when they was in Canaan, when the 12 brothers, the sons of Jacob, were in Canaan, who did they have to deal with? They had to deal with the Hamitic women there, the Canaanites, who are of the seed of Ham. We know that Jacob, uh, his wives were Shemitic. They were, from that Payton Aram area that Abraham came from. So they was Shemitic just like him, because at that time there was no quote unquote Hebrew, if you want to use that word. But those 12 brothers, they married and had children by the Canaanite women that were around them. And then when they moved from Canaan into Egypt because of famine, they dealt with the Egyptian women, just like Joseph's wife was Egyptian. So his children were half Egyptian and half Ivram or Hebrew. But during that first 200 something years that they were in the land of Egypt, where they wasn't enslaved, right, by the Pharaoh, and Pharaoh and the Egyptian people were still kind to them, they had to create what you would consider to be the Hebrew woman, right? Because the only woman that had existed with Jacob was his daughter Dinah. But we know that Dinah was, violated by Shechem, the Canaanite prince. She was violated by him, and you don't read anymore what happened to her. And the thing is, she would have had to have been with someone of another race anyway, unless she would have married one of her brother's children. You understand? So she was going to have to be with someone that was going to either be a Canaanite or Egyptian herself in order, if she was going to produce offspring. But if you want to say a Hebrew, if you wanted to use that word, yeah, she was the only one. But all the children that the 12 apostles, no, I'm sorry, 12 brothers, the 12 patriarchs dealt with were women that were not Shemitic. They were Hermetic, either Canaanites or they were Egyptian. But I guess during that, like I said, that 200 some years where they had Goshen, they just that group just bred within themselves. And sometimes I'm wondering, is that why Yah changed Abram's name to Abraham? Because he knew the connection that the Hamitic and the Shemitic people were gonna have to have with each other. You understand? He wasn't gonna magically say, okay, 12 patriarchs, I'm gonna magically snap my fingers and make a Hebrew woman for you. No, it's through a process of, crossbreeding and whatever else, so that when they did come out of Egypt, there was a such a thing, I guess you would consider to be a Hebrew woman, from them being within each other, which is, I believe, one reason why when Yah gave Moses them the commandments, he had told them, don't you know don't deal with people outside of other nations, right? Because they're gonna cause your people to turn to other Elohims or whatever. And also that he wanted the bloodline to be pure. But he also stated by the third and fourth generation, because I know he knew that they were not going to listen to him, but that they were going to be with those women of other nations. But getting back to the point about the divestors and the manosphere, and pointing people to people outside of your race to marry as being the best option for us as Hebrew people, as black people. Again, this is not nothing new, but what the Most High Yah expects of us to do is to uh, obey what he stated, right? He stated that if you and understanding back then, everyone that they dealt with was black, so it didn't have anything per se always to deal with the skin color, because the Medic people were black. Some of them looked like us, we looked like them, whatever, and there was mixing, whatever. But he understood that culture differences and different things like that, some of these things cannot be overcome. That's why one of the rules that he gave, laws he gave Moses, said, if a man see a woman of another nation, that when they went and conquered the Canaanites, when he sent them in there, he said, and he chooses to be with her as a spoil of war, he said, first, when she comes into the nation, she has to shave off all her hair. Then she has to mourn her family for 30 days, right? And then he can marry her. And that was, and par her nails, I think it said clip her nails or whatever. And it was a sign that she was no longer going to be identifying with her culture at all. And so what I would say to those that do that is that this is the dilemma that a lot of biracial children talk about all the time, is the conflict of what culture that they would have to deal with, right? And this, it it's almost like a rite of passage that they have to go through once they get to a certain age, where they got to figure out where they're gonna strike. And a lot of the times, these, like I said, this is not going to be noticed early on in their young age, until they start coming to understand that, hey, it's, especially depending on where their family is going to move, whether they're going to move and be in the community of the father if he's black, or if they're going to move in the community of the mother if she's black, right? And then, or they try to mix it up, they're going to understand that there's one of these things is not like the other. And this is the thing that one needs to know when you're listening to these people telling you to go over here. Are you willing, if you're thinking about marriage to this one, to give that up, right? Because all this thing of we are all one in Christ, or Yeshua, or whatever you want to say, that has nothing to do with your culture. You don't see the Irish who might claim, I'm a believer or whatever, denouncing the Shamrock, or denouncing Ireland, or denouncing green beer, or whatever. You don't hear. We're the only ones that think that, if I get, I gotta become totally clear, right? I don't have no whatever that I can affiliate with, and therefore that's the fair thing to do. No, somebody's gonna have to give up something. One or the other. Somebody's gonna have to give up something. You're gonna have to give up something. Even if you marry a person of your own race, depending on how they was raised, there's going to be compromises, but there definitely going to be compromises if you do that. But to tell these people to do this and not give them the intricate details about this, right? And this is for the ones that's talking about marriage, right? Is you got to understand what you are definitely getting yourself into, because I see a lot of these, like I said, people that get on here and on the internet, and you'll see, like, it might be an African woman and a Filipino man, or Korean man, or you might see a Korean woman with a black African man, or black American man, and they'll have all these things where they have their children up and they have them all glossed over, and then you come back years later and find out, man, these people wasn't even together. They kept those videos up. They kept themselves together in these videos in order to continue to promote that, because they was promoting a somewhat of a fantasy that there was never going to be any problems or whatever. Or they might throw up the clickbait, my in-laws are racist or something like that or whatever. And it's all for money, because they're pulling in big money. I seen this one, and it was really sad. It was just kind of, she was a well-built African woman. I guess she had married this Korean guy or whatever, and she was bringing the video out saying, I know that I said we was doing this and that, but we're no longer together. And she said it was just too much. He chose his parents over me or whatever. And she said, I just couldn't keep the illusion up no more. And you could tell I think she had to go back to whatever African nation she was, and they basically were like, you ain't getting no help from us or whatever. And it was just really sad, right? Like I said, these guys and women are vice versa, are telling you to go do this and do that. And then when this happened, where's the support groups and all this kind of stuff for you? It's not going to be there. You understand? These divesters and these Manosphere people, like I said, I'm going to tell you what the real deal is. Most of them are not dealing with you getting married to these people and being in any long-term relationship. And if if they're getting on these channels and trying to show it, let's just see how long they stay with one person on their channel, if they even show themselves in a relationship with one of those people that they are with that's from another nation over a year. Because most of them that get into this stuff, that's promoting this stuff, that's making big money off, they're single. They're fornicators. They're not about marriage. They are fornicators. And this is the not just the, and this problem started in the black community with them, male or female, is that they're fornicators. And the bad part for the black female was that she had a lot of children, that she didn't have a man that wanted to stay in and marry her and have children, but she yet kept fornicating. Or you had a black man that was in black community fornicating with a lot of black women and getting them pregnant, but he had no intention of staying with any of them. And when they both get tired of that, then they'll want to tell everybody else that has not got mixed up into fornication and stuff like that, don't even waste your time with that black man, or don't waste your time with that black woman because she's gonna do this because you tripped up. I would be interested to see some of these women in the Divesters that had black children that they brought over into these relationships with these men of other nations, how they were treated, or even if they even let them bring them in, or did they say, you're going to stay with your father because I'm with this guy and he's not willing to take this, right? Or with these black men that have children from other women, are they going to bring those children over with them that's in the Manosphere and Passport Bros that have children? Would they bring their children over to these women of other nations that they are gonna be with? No, they wouldn't do it. They're gonna wipe the slate clean and act like this ain't never happened. And that might not be the case with all of them. It could be some of them that are single that have never had children, right, or whatever. But maybe they just seen what others had said and said, well, I'm not even gonna take the chance of having some children by some woman wearing weave and on Section 8 or whatever. I'm just gonna go on over here. And I'm telling you, don't listen to either side of this divester, Manosphere, passport bro thing, because the problem is most of them are fornicators. And even if they were married, they probably divorced or had several divorces, right? So if they never was able to follow through on a commitment, why are you listening to somebody that couldn't follow through on a commitment, right? That's not the right person to be listening to anyway. But let's get back to the fornicator part. Most of these people are now, I can't, well, maybe some of the black women are marrying because most of the time the women want security, so they probably will marry these foreign guys. But how many times would they tell you that these foreign guys, especially they move to these foreign guys' country, that they probably stepping out on them with the women of their same race, and that they just, for you were some like a exotic pet or something that you could create this child with that look unique or whatever. But for the most part, they still probably stepping out with their women of their own race, because if they get you in their country, you at their mercy. And most of the time, that's what's gonna probably happen. So, and on the men's side, how many of them that which most of them ain't gonna probably marry these women that they go over to these different countries with. They're gonna stay. They're gonna do a vacation or whatever, and they're gonna come back, and they might have a certain one that they go over. But for the most part, with some of the black women and most of the black men, it's gonna be about fornication. That's all it's gonna be about. It's not gonna be about no commitment or anything, and that is a problem that they would have had before they even decided that we want to go off into other people. Is fornication. Fornication is sin, and their sin has no satisfaction in the end, and therefore that's why they'll never even stay in one country. They'll go off to another. They'll tell you about all these different places because they're going to try to find satisfaction in something that the Most High Yah said it is a sin, and sin brings about death. Let's look at this. Let's go to the book of. We're gonna start with Romans 1. See. We're going to go with Romans 1 and 29. And even as they did not like to retain Yah in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which are not convenient, being filled with all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, debate, deceit, malignity, whisperers, backbiters, haters of Yah, despiteful, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents, without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection, implacable, unmerciful, who knowing the judgment of Yah, that they which commit such things are worthy of death, not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them. Is this not the divesters? Is this not the Manosphere and the passport bros? That they have been turned over to a reprobate mind, meaning, okay, yeah, I've seen all my life, mom and dad, what's natural, black man, black woman, black children, whatever. Yeah, but I don't want that. He said that to do things, he said, that are not convenient. And that word is fitting. Those things which are not fitting. You remember that movie that Sidney Poitier made back in the 60s with that famous black white actor, that Guess Who's Coming Over for Dinner or whatever, where he was dating the white woman or whatever. And when he came in, it's not fitting. It's not fitting in. And I understand what I'm saying. I understand about white supremacy and all these other kind of things, but I'm just saying in a natural frame of mind that don't fit. If you have this thing where they're showing cats and dogs kissing all over each other and everything, it's not natural. It's not natural. You understand? Now we understand that humans are on a higher level, but no one can deny that when you have these relationships of people of different nations, that people gonna look twice, because especially if you was raised in a certain thing, it's not gonna fit. There's a reason why y'all kept telling us to be set apart, right? Now, understand what I just stated earlier about them being with the Hamitic people and the Egyptian people or whatever, but yet y'all put them off into Goshen, right? And one of the reasons why I believe he definitely had them to come out of Egypt, because they were becoming so engrossed in the thing of Egypt that they would have become Egyptians if y'all hadn't pulled them out and brought them into the land, or at least a portion of the land that he had promised Abraham. That's why he told Abraham to come out of his land, right? Told him to come out, right? Now, he came out with Sarah, who was a Shemitic woman, but he told him to come out because it was full of idolatry. But when he came into the land of the Canaanites, he said, hey, they don't be dealing with these Canaanite people, because they got different way of thinking. They got different way of whatever. And remember, like I said, they were all black people, so they ain't have nothing to do with color. So it could be the same difference. Like I said, if you got someone that's even of your same race, or someone that might be from another country that's black or whatever, like the Indians, some Indians over there in India are darker than us, that if you marry them, you dealing with different customs, you dealing with different things. But these divestors and these people of the Manosphere, they're not about marriage. They're not about that commitment. They're about fornication, which is what Yah said, because our people know better and they kept doing these different things that he told them. He said he was going to give them over to a reprobate mind where they would not do things where convenient. They would be unrighteous. They would be full of fornication, which you find some of these divestors and some of these, and most of the passport bros and men in the Manosphere are fornicators. They're going to these different countries because they want to just sleep with the women. They're not making no commitment except for maybe the money that they live with them. He said they're covetousness, meaning they covet. They're going over there. Now, these are women of other nations that are really there for the men of their own nation, but our men are coveting them. They're coveting them. Our women are coveting them. They're covering them. They're envious. They're malicious. How are they malicious? By the things that they're saying about black men and by the things that the black men are saying about the black women. They're being malicious toward each other because other nations probably do marry into our people, but you never hear them turn around and be malicious and break down their own people. And a lot of times, like I said, especially with the divestors, because for the most part, I said the black women will want to marry these guys. If they do marry them, either like I said, with that one marriage where you had the African woman with the Korean man, that Korean man, after so many years, the thrill of having these exotic looking children wore off, and he said, I gotta go back to my people, right? Because I never threw my people away like you threw your people away. So now that you try to go back, you can't go back to your African nation or go back to your African American thing because you talk so much stuff and how people ain't gonna pull you back in. But you full of envy because you got when the Divesters came out, some of the black men were envious of that and said, well, if you doing it, then I'm going to do it. And then you got some of the black women that seen the man in the Manosphere and the passport bro say, if you do it, I'm going to do it. Full of murder, this tearing down of the black woman primarily. Now, there's some black men that suffer from the thing of the child support thing, where the women are malicious against them, and they to the point of causing problems and everything that might cause them to go to jail. But for the most part, the pushback with murder has been on the black men that now murder their ex-wives or their ex-girlfriends or murder black women because they just have such a low grade thought of them. So that all you men out there that's in the Manosphere and in the passport bros, that you're gonna have to stand before Yah if some of the words that you have said have enraged some black men to go do some of these atrocities. You're gonna stand on the day of judgment. He's gonna say, some of that stuff that you said caused these men to go out and kill some of these women. So what do you have to say for yourself, right? What do you have to say, especially when you was not even pushing them to get married? You was just pushing them to go and taste the fruit. You didn't have no good intentions of what you was doing. You're gonna have to stand. And some of you might be thinking you actually doing some good things, but the Bible said, by your words you shall be justified, and by your own words you shall be condemned. I'm not telling you that it's bad for you to tell your sons or your nephews or whatever, hey, you need to watch out for these kind of women. But to debase a whole race of women and say, don't go with no black woman, join the United States military and go overseas and get you whatever. That's foul. If they do join the military and go overseas to be with somebody and they're happily with them just because they're happily with them, that's a different story. But you're telling them to overlook even some of the black women that are in service with them and say that I don't mess with no black woman, whatever. That's not right. Most High Yah is not pleased with that, right? Debate. This Manosphere divestor thing is brought up a lot of debate, a lot of deceit, a lot of malignity, a lot of whispering, backbiters, haters of Yah, because when you try to bring the scripture up to either side, the divestors or the Manosphere passport bro down to see that's the problem. See, because that preacher was telling me I need to hold out. I don't need to be messing with these men or whatever, and I'll be waiting all my life and all this other kind of stuff. Which again, I understand that this is why you need to be born again and have a relationship with the Most High Yah. I just seen a video of a sister. I'm not gonna put her name out there because she's a channel, but she's a Hebrew. She's a believer. She's born again. She just put out a video about she waited and waited and waited, and she's fine. She said Yah has finally sent her the man that she believes she gonna be with. But she, from her understanding, she went through a lot of stuff. She made it, and I'm happy for her. I'm happy for her, but she waited out. But getting back to this, because my battery is running low again, but it's caused a lot of people to have hatred for Yah, and definitely the passport bros and those in the Manosphere. They ain't, because a lot of them are these Hebrew. Some of these are these Hebrew Israelite people that don't even believe in Yeshua. They just use the Father's name in vain because they're trying to get women to come in and be into this polygamy thing or whatever, and they also got this 12 tribe chart, which promotes getting and they put all these different nations of these foreign women on there saying that they are Hebrew because they want to have access to them, because they don't want to mess with the sisters or mess with the ones from Africa. They don't want to do it, so they are even hypocrites, right? But let's get on. He said they're despiteful, right? They're despiteful, they're proud, they're boasters, they're inventor of evil things, disobedient to parents, disobedient probably to their parents, and say, look, why are you doing this? Why are you going off and doing this? You wasn't raised like this, right? Without understanding, not understanding, like I said, some of the things that they're saying is causing all these problems in the black community. Covenant breakers, because some of them, marriages were dissolved the wrong way. They covenant breakers, and Yah, like he said in one of the scriptures, he said that if a man divorce his wife, or the wife divorce a man for any other reason other than fornication, he caused them to commit adultery. If you just divorce that woman because you just say, I don't want to be with her, I want to be with a woman of another nation, or you divorce that man because you just didn't want to be with him, and you divorce him to be with a man of another nation, you are covenant breakers and you are in sin, because it was not for fornication without natural affections. Again, like I said, it's natural for me to want to be with a black woman. It's natural for the black woman to want to be with a black man. But you saying no, it's not. Just be with whoever. Implacable, unmerciful, knowing the judgment of Yah, the day which commit some things are worthy of death, not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them. So now you got this multiplicity of channels, like I said, of divestors out there saying, down with the black man, to the point that they telling black women, if you find out that you carrying a black son, you need to go and do the A thing to him. Don't even let him be born on this earth, because he's not worthy to be brought into, as if they needed any excuses anyway, right? But then also with some of the black men, that if they have probably have a daughter or whatever, that if they got in a relationship probably with woman, they probably wouldn't even want to have custody, because they were like, I don't want to have no semblance of the black woman, or even how they treat their daughters. You understand? He said, but they have pleasure in them to do the same. They multiplying this thing. They're multiplying this thing of the Manosphere and the passport bros. They're multiplying this thing of the divestors. And Yah is not pleased, right? He is not pleased. But that's because, like I said, their primary reason for doing this is fornication. It's about fornication for a lot of these men in the Manosphere and the passport bros, and for these the black women is to be spiteful, is to get revenge, right? A lot of times in CC, whatever, and they'll end up probably having to stay in a even more of an unhappy relationship with a man of another nation, if that man of another nation even will stay with them or whatever, and then still be left with the children, which will have to deal with that whole situation. But this is First Corinthians 6 and 13. Like I said, it's especially in the Manosphere, it's all about fornication. First Corinthians 6 and 13 said, meats for the belly and belly for the meats, but Yah shall destroy both it and them. Now the body is not for fornication, but for the master, and the master for the body. Understand that. Understand that. Your body is not just for fornication. I mean, it's not for fornication. It's for marriage. And it's for being with Yah. Because Paul continues on, Yah has both raised up the master and will also raise us up by his own power. Know ye not that your bodies are the members of Messiah? Shall I then make the members of Messiah, take the members of Messiah and make them the members of a harlot? Like I said, most of these guys are going over there. They just, either these women are high-class prostitutes, or you might as well say they're prostitutes, because they are getting something out of the thing, right? Yah forbid. What? Know ye not that he which is joined to a harlot is one body? For two say he shall be one flesh, but he that is joined into the master is one spirit. Flee fornication. Every sin that a man doeth is without the body, but he that committeth fornication sinneth against his own body. And this is even if you're not going with women of another nation, or you going with men of another nation. You need to flee fornication. You need to stop it. You need to stop all this. And this would and wait on the master to send you. Not saying that you let the preacher or whoever tell you who to marry. It ain't got nothing to do with them. The word is right all by itself. But it's gonna make it better for you. Now, of course, you're gonna say, well, look, my parents didn't do it. It wasn't it wasn't, again, pushed like it should have been. But that doesn't mean that the generation that came out that went through that can't try to tell the generation that came behind it, this is what you need to do. You need to do this, because this is what's gonna be best if you wait on Yah, right? Then we look at 1 Corinthians 7 and 2. It says, nevertheless, 1 Corinthians 7 and 1. Now concerning the things whereof ye wrote unto me, is it good for a man not to touch a woman? Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every man have his own husband. This is what I want to see, the passport bros. I want to see these Hebrew Israelites, and I want to see all these black cultures around here that are promoting polygamy to get in agreement with me that this is what it's about right here. One man, one woman, right? Okay, so you want to say, I'm going over, right? Is your commitment to be with one woman of that nation nation that you're going to, right? I don't think so. I think, like I said, most of them are fornicators. I want to say that most of the divesters, even though they might, some of them say that they want to marry. If you go and marry some of these people according to their some of their customs of their nations, when you come back here to the United States, that marriage might not even be recognized. And in some cases, maybe even in their countries, they might not even legitimately recognize it. And therefore, like I said, you might be married you're married to this person. Then when they just want to up and leave you, and you in their nation, you at the beck and whim of their king. They can go in there and say, look, I didn't know what I was getting into. I married this African woman, this African American woman, but I didn't know. I want this marriage wiped away like it never happened. She can have the kids, go back to where she going to, and I don't want to be with. And now you stuck with having to deal with men of that nation, because you might not be able to come back to your people of your own nation, because they're seeing, they're like, I don't want to have nothing to do, and you're stuck. You got to think of things like these, things like this. And so, like I said, we really got to be prayerful. We are living in the last and evil days. I would tell anyone that's married to someone of another nation, they're both committed, they're believers, they believe in the Most High Yah, they understand the difficulties of them being together, whatever. They more power to you. Yeah, but I would also say, don't, I wouldn't engage in saying, hey, this is the best thing, whatever. I never would, I never would be with somebody of mine, whatever, or vice versa. That's not good, because that's not true. And you need to tell them, all the different things you need to, because if you think about the fact that in heaven, the Bible says that you're going to see, or rather down here when y'all come on, you're going to see people of other nations, which means our differences, Yah's not going to eliminate our difference of our complexion, our voice, our whatever. It's all, that's why there's a rainbow. You don't have all the colors all mixed into one, which, by the way, if you did do that, it would all be black. Out of black comes all the color of the rainbow, because at the very beginning, everyone was black. It was because of the different things, a man falling and all these things, that all these other things came about separation, because sin causes separation. And when Adam and Eve sinned, it caused separation in so many other ways, of them not just being separated from Yah, but being separated from a lot of things, right? So with that, I'm going to just tell you, the body's not for fornication. We need to seek to be with one man or one woman in marriage. Flee fornication. We know that, that's what Yeshua stated to them in the book of Matthew, the 19th chapter. Read that. He said it was one man and one woman from the beginning, not all this other kind of stuff. So with that, I'm going to ask you to give this video a thumbs up. I'm going to ask you to leave a comment, and I'm going to ask you to subscribe. And I'm going to ask you again, like I said, that's not empower these divestors. That's not empower this manosphere, these passport bros. These things are not of the Most High Yah. Be blessed.